There we go. You guys now know. But well, guys, nice seeing you all. I know it's a bit of a light group here today, but it is the first summer NEVIC Zoom meeting, 23rd of June. And hope you guys are enjoying the start of the summer. I guess we're getting some summer weather coming our way this weekend, so we will be well in the summertime. Let me kick off a couple of things, one of which is just if there's any announcements, anyone need to make any announcements in particular, any upcoming shows or events that members should be aware of. The only one I can think of is, of course, our fall Brookline was a ways away, but it will be September 24th. So if it's not on your calendar, you should mark it on there now. And so, you'll see more emails from Larry and company as we get closer. But otherwise, I can't think of any other announcements. I think all the Steam Museum events already occurred. Is that right, Len? So there's nothing to announce there.
Well, we're open every Saturday for the summer.
Oh, that's good to know. So I've seen your email. That's a good thing as a plug for them.
From 9 to 4.
9 to 4. And I guess I have their big event, but the steam engines and the car show already occurred, right?
Right, yeah, but then there's the steam up in September. Oh, okay. I'm sorry, October.
Oh, okay.
October 3rd, I think.
Oh, okay. Well, it's good to know, and we'll make sure that you give us a reminder as we get closer to maybe in one of the September Zoom meetings. But,
okay,
that's great. So at any rate, and also as I promised, I wanted to sort of, I realized we've just been doing it on the fly, but I wanted to sort of, devote a segment, the early part of our meeting to allow members, if you have something you want to show, if you a recent acquisition, or a project in progress. I wanted to sort of formalize something we've just been doing very informally since we've been doing the Zoom meetings. It's just been on the seat of the pants. And like I said, if that particular item you're saying, hey, it's also for sale, this, so there's absolutely no reason why you can't have that as part of the forum. It's not necessarily a swap meet, but just you can put it even in the chat window, your email address or phone number, or if you want to post it on the groups.io swap meet subgroup, that's also good. But it's gives a little bit of raise awareness, but we all get to see it too, because you either look at some still shots or you get to do things. So at any rate, with that in mind, does anyone have anything they'd like to show here? Oh, okay, Adrian, why don't you jump in there?
Okay, I just happened to pick it up. This is a sonotone first transistorized hearing aid.
Interesting.
So what, big S.
What year would that be from, would you say?
Huh?
What year would you say that's from, would you think?
Around 54-ish. Used the CK722 transistors, so be 54, 55.
How interesting. How did you come across that?
I collect hearing aids.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I just happened to open a drawer and pull this one out. I have several tube ones with the miniature tubes, and in fact, I have a sonotone with miniature tubes. But here's the here's the plug and cable for the earpiece, but the earpiece is missing. Put it in another box.
So essentially,
I'll try and show you inside.
Oh, no problem. How interesting.
Yeah, so it has. They retain 2 batteries still,
okay.
From like the original tube one.
Sure. How interesting.
But,
I've never seen one of that vintage. So I assume it's essentially an amplifier, and you're putting a piece to your ear. And
yeah, look at that clip. And how big that is. It weighs about 6 or 7 ounces. So it'll tear your pocket.
I like it. That looks like a nice brush metal finish.
Oh yeah, this is in immaculate condition.
Is that a US made product?
Yes, yeah, it's in those days it really hadn't started making stuff in Japan. So this is a it just says the House of Hearing on the label in the box, which is in perfect condition too.
Wow, I like it. How interesting.
Nice find.
John,
That's
Oh.
unusual. Did you have a tube one you wanted to show while we're at it, or is it for another show?
No, they're downstairs in a big box somewhere. This happened to stray out.
Oh, I'm
But
glad you did.
I have about I think 4 or 5 tube ones from about 3 manufacturers, and they were early 50s, before transistor, or as a lot of manufacturers did back then, they didn't say, they said transistors are not going to last. Okay, so we're not going to build a transistor one. We'll keep on with tubes until 1960. There were manufacturers that are like that, big ones.
Interesting.
Yeah, that said, no, the transistors are not going to last. It's tubes all the way.
Now those must have weighed a little bit more to be, so it really tore your pocket, putting a tube-based one on there, right?
Yeah,
Just
well, the
leave what-
tubes actually probably they're about the same weight, because they're the little tiny weeny Raytheon type miniature tubes. Very, very small.
Now, what year would you say, since you collect them, was one of the first viable hearing aids?
Oh, there was viable hearing aids in the 30s. They weren't necessarily electronic, they were electric. And then during the late 40s, there was some vacuum tube ones. Bill, you raised your hand there. You want to say something?
I got a question. Does that thing have bass and treble controls on it?
No, no, it's just a volume control and that's it. No, the circuitry presets any characteristics like that. There's no room for that. It's not an audio preamp, like.
Does it operate? Have you tried it?
Not this one. I have another battery one that's also with the collection
Mhm.
that I did operate. But I also have these, which are very modern, have high-speed processors in them. And
Right.
this one, actually, both sides, they take the high notes and reduce them to a lower octave for my hearing.
I see.
I can't hear the top end of a piano, the top octave.
Yep.
I can't hear it natively.
I see.
It all sounds the same until
see.
I listen with this.
I don't see any vacuum tubes on that, I'm afraid.
No, right. And they got one in each ear.
That's great. That's really interesting. Hopefully in the future, one of these days, when your hand comes to one of the vacuum tube ones, we'll have to have you on and give us a show in the future one day.
I have to, in the future, I have to go, wait a minute, let me unzip my head and show you where the implant is.
I like it. That's a very Star Trek thing.
Yeah, but to go from what you just saw pulled out of my ear to this is immense.
Yeah, it has an impressive miniaturization that will continue to miniaturize. Yeah, that's great. Hey, yeah, thanks, Adrian. I really enjoyed that.
Thanks.
Who else has something to show?
Well, I've got a couple of radios, John, if you'd like to take a look at them.
Absolutely.
Projects I just finished. Let's see.
Absolutely.
All right. I'm gonna bring them a little closer. This black guy here is a 1950 Emerson. It's a little 5-tuber. Model 587. It's, oh, you can see my hand is on it. It's not much wider than my hand, but it's a
Yeah, that's small.
nice little All-American 5. It's got an Emerson logo in here.
I
Nice.
love that grill design. It reminds me of almost like an automotive grill with the emblem
Yeah,
dead
it kind
center.
of looks like it'd be a 50s car or something.
Exactly. I love it.
Yeah. And the other one is a 1939. It's a True Tone. They had the stratoscope antenna in the back, and it's got the tuning on the side, and you're off on volume here, and it's got the push button presets.
Yeah, that's great. It's interesting. It's 39. Looks fairly modern for a 39.
Yeah, it's got a fun stock clip on the back for an external antenna, but it's got the built-in stroboscope loop
That's-
antenna. It's a good sounding radio.
Is that
Originally it was,
sorry?
well, I was just because originally it was white in color, and it needed to be repainted, and it needed something besides white. So I found this sort of subtle shade of mint green, which kind of adds to it, I think.
Yeah, no, I like it. It's great. That's funny. It's interesting you mentioned it's green because on my computer it looks more of a light blue, powder blue, but it's
Yeah,
just
it does under the fluorescent light. It looks a little different than that. But
is
you know,
the,
and these are, some of you probably know I sell radios on Radio Attic, and these two are on there. So if anybody has an interest in them, you can check them out there. Go to radioattic.com.
that's right. Go to Greg Van Beek's link.
Yeah.
Um, is that cabinet original on the Emerson?
Yeah, that one's all original.
Yeah, that's in great condition. And the glow cloth, is that like a metal cloth or is that really cloth?
It is. It's like a metal mesh.
I like it. It reminds me of the FADA model 790 I have, which uses a metal mesh grill like that. I really like the touch. It really looks, especially with the dark brown plastic chassis. Really
It's interesting too, because it doesn't have a dial face on it. I mean, you got the needle showing right through here, and the numbers are on the face, but yet there's still a dial light in there, which is kind of neat because a lot of those cheaper All-American 5s didn't even bother with a dial light when they had
Yeah, I was going to ask that question. That's nice. That's a nice touch because to me, you got to have a dial light. You know, just I like the look. I get it. You know, call me. A little bit gimmicky in that regard. But
well, to me, that kind of makes a radio too. When the lights are out at night and you're sitting in a dark room, it's kind of cool to see a dial lit up.
Yeah, I know. And what one of these I'd love to do, and it's a project I don't know, maybe I'd have to go around to different people's collections. I would love to have some of these radios turned on with very dim lighting. You have enough to see the case and the radio, but enough to see the actual effect of the dial face lit up. Some of these are just really superb when they're lit up.
Years ago, I actually started a thread on the Philco forum on philcoradio.com, and it's Philco radio is all aglow, and people just took pictures of their dials at night in a dark room lit up, and there's some beautiful dials on radios.
Yeah.
When you're sitting in a dark room like that with just the glow of the dial, you're transported back in time because that's what people were looking at in the 30s when the radios were new.
Exactly. Yeah, no, that's a great idea. It's like show us your dial face at night. But
Hey, Greg.
Yes.
Greg, tell me about your painting process. Do you do that with a rattle can?
Yeah, it's all rattle can. And first, you use a primer. I use what's called a filler primer in case there's any imperfections. That'll smooth it out before you put the enamel over it.
Interesting.
There's an art form to it. I mean, you have to have just the right amount of pressure and just the right distance away so you don't get runs or spatter marks. It takes some practice.
Yeah, no, you did a very nice job. It looks like you did a nice even job. It looks almost factory finish. I'm judging from the post. You do fine work there, Greg. That's great. That's great. Hi, Gary.
Hi, did I miss
And at
anything?
times, that's really your only option.
You
know,
just
got a
jumped in.
cabinet that you have to repaint. Have to repair the crack. You got to repaint the cabinet.
Yeah. Now, do you with plastic when you have like a plastic that's cracked, you use filler like you would to fill it before doing the primer? I suppose.
I use it like a two-part epoxy on the inside and a little bit of plastic if need be on the outside, like you would a car.
Yep.
Just to fill the crack in.
like a good source for anybody who has questions about how to get a radio prep for finishing. Greg's your man. But, well, that's
I've dealt
great.
with radios. When you get them in the mail, occasionally I've got some from eBay, and people don't know how to pack them and they come smashed, and well, they don't want to pack them. So what are you going to do with them? Well, okay, I'll try and fix it.
Yeah.
You gotta be kidding. You mean you actually get something from eBay that's cracked?
I
Unheard
know.
of.
Can't do that, right?
Unheard of. Yeah, there's many stories. Just ask Paul Burish, which I think he's told us the story of the very nice Nord Menda he bought, and he literally saw the delivery guy. I don't know which carrier it was. Literally
Oh,
took the box and threw it in. Landed on his steps, off his concrete steps, bounced off, and the rest, the damage pretty severely. And it was a pristine radio. He showed me the pictures that when he was going to buy it too. So I saw the pictures ahead of time. So yeah, that's a great radio. Go for it.
Well, it's especially heartbreaking too when something survived 70 or 60, 70, 80 years and only to get smashed because somebody didn't take the time to pack it right.
Yeah, but also, the delivery guy is not getting his truck and actually walking up and dropping it instead of throwing it out of his truck. I mean, come on. And apparently the guy he bought it from was well known for good packing. So apparently it was well packed, but if with enough force,
Oh, anything you drop it high enough, it's gonna cause some damage.
Yeah. It's too bad. Well, thanks, Greg. That was great. Two beautiful radios, and anyone's interested, go to radioaddict.com.
And thank you for letting me do that, John.
Oh, yeah.
Like we talked offline, I don't want to turn this into an infomercial for my Radio Addict sales, but
No, but my goal really is here that it's more of a show and tell, and oh, by the way, and that way we're not, it gives people a chance. And for me, I'm at least as my own personal interest, I'm thoroughly enjoying seeing people's items, and especially if they've been restored, it's a new radio. It's just something fun to see, and the fact that it's for sale would be, well, anyone attending gets to know about it. Or if you're just a regular surfer, radioaddict.com, there's your way to find it. I peek in every so often. I peek into your page every so often and see what's there, just because it's always nice to see what you have. There's a lot of good restorers out there. But so is there anyone else who had something they wanted to show or talk about?
If there's nobody else, I got
Sure, go
one
ahead.
more. Ooh,
I said, sure, go ahead, Adrian.
no, somebody's echoing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, it's WBUR radio. It only receives one station.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. Now, the last 10 minutes, I've been putting new batteries in it and wondering why it's not working. Used to. So it says on the top, Bloomberg Radio.
Uh-huh.
So everywhere you go in the country, 11:30.
Okay.
Okay, and you can hear the news, and that's all it does.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it just has a volume control and the fine tuning, which usually can leave it where it is, but it's not working right now. But it's just a small little transistor radio.
But it's fixed. How interesting that they offer that.
Yeah.
It's
right.
Must be one of those gifts you get when you donate to WBUR and they send you a Bloomberg radio.
Something like that. I don't recall. I had it a very long time.
Yeah, because I don't remember ever seeing the Bloomberg. I'm a member as well, but I've never gotten a radio gift. Or they always keep peddling the Eton, wind up radio, in case of power loss. But
it's not working. So, but anyway, thought I'd just show it. It's sitting right here.
Great.
well, if you take it to other parts of the country, I know in Milwaukee we've got an 11:30 a.m. here, which is WISN. We're always the CBS affiliate out of Milwaukee. So you can play it in other areas of the country if there's a station at 11:30.
Right. How interesting. Oh, that was great. Cool. Thank you, Adrian. Is there anyone else before I head over to photos?
Just a comment.
Sure, go ahead, Bill.
I've seen a number of those one frequency radios that are different frequencies for different stations. They use them as station promotions, I imagine, for handouts or giveaways on these instant call-in contests and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I guess it's a clever way to always promote their item because you have locked into that one station, no others. But great. Well, then what I'll do is I will pick up the photos from where we left off from last meeting. Just to make sure I'm in the right photo here. Yes, I am. I made a mistake of mostly remembering where I left off, so forgive me if I happen to have a slight overlap from where we left off from the last meeting, but I don't think it's much of an overlap. So I hope everyone can see we're at this nice little Zenith clock radio. This year looked to be, I guess, I forget whose table it was on, but it was all $20. And some pretty, I guess it's never been restored, so it was an as is. But it looks to be in nice shape for $20. That seems like a pretty, I think it says 20 if my eyes are deceiving. Of course, to say 50. Maybe I'm being too. I think it's, yeah, it's 20. And a little plug for my hometown, my town I live in, the Telecron clock, which was from Ashland, Massachusetts. But yeah, nice for $20. I think that's a pretty good deal.
Yeah, good deal.
This here is, I'm not sure. I actually have to ask anyone who knows what this is.
I think it's a GE, if I'm not mistaken.
You
Is
may
it
be right.
The Westinghouse, I think.
Oh, okay. Because I was looking for a label.
What that is it's half of a radio phonograph. They had the phonograph behind it, and you could take the radio portion out of the cabinet and move it to a different room.
Ah, how clever. So this button here, is this like a release button here or something?
No,
Oh, I
actually
see the W.
Westinghouse. It's a big W, yeah.
Yeah, you IBM presents, you made the call. That's a good catch, because I was wondering, I'm looking all over for this, and I looked over the button.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was a neat.
There was a phonograph behind it. It was a table model of radio phonograph, and they touted it that you could move the radio to a different room if you wanted to leave the phonograph sitting at a different table.
How interesting. And this was actually, I mean, it looks to be in pretty nice condition. All the lettering is clear, just a little bit maybe. Well, actually, it looks pretty clean. Everything looks very clear. And for $45, that's actually not pretty reasonable. And I see what you're saying with the radio phonograph.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
The
that
only-
little W on top lights up. That's a little jewel light.
Is that right? Right here?
Yeah, it lights up orange. That little W, yeah, it's like a jewel.
The only problem with that radio is you have to remember which room you left the phonograph
That's
in.
right. That's right. You want to play a record, you gotta I gotta gather up the radio and move it back to the.
Now, how did they connect? Was there sort of like a, that's a plug? Was there like a plug-in sort of mechanism, or?
I would think so. I've never actually seen one apart or looked that close how they were hooked together, but I've seen pictures of them that had the record player behind, because it had a cover on the record player. And it was almost like a little tray where that sat in, the radio portion of it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this is great. No, this is information I did not know, so appreciate the background. So now we know.
I actually just saw one like that at our Wisconsin Antique Radio Club swap meet on Sunday.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
That one is a pretty nice nick. Overall, the plastic is really in great shape. Moving along, lots of various more modern receivers and so forth. Lots of Sonys, and of course the Technics here. So maybe not quite so exciting, but nevertheless desirable by some. I guess the same vendor, because the Westinghouse is right here.
Oh, yeah.
I have a habit of doing that. I'll just go to someone's table and bang, 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 and I know they're all co-located at the same table. It's a nice little Bendix.
Oh,
Pretty reasonable shape overall. What were they asking for this? Let's see, it says, I'm trying to read the thing, needs to be replaced. I guess replaced, something needs to be replaced. It's a little bit hard to read the writing. But overall, it's all there. I mean, all the knobs and, some, some refinishing would be a nice to do here, but it's not.
and they used that chassis in several different models. One was a Catalan actually, and one was a plastic or Bakelite cabinet that they kind of slid over the top of the chassis.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, I think it might be like a Model 526, something like that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's a nice little radio. Certainly quite restorable because the condition is
Definitely.
quite reasonable. And here's an RCA
Wow.
Viola. $75. Yeah, 75. Nice little unit. Very nice condition.
Nice finish, yeah.
Yeah, it's very nice. I forget whose table this was. In fact, I think I have a picture from the top coming up next. Yeah, here we go. All nicely done. Nice condition.
75 bucks.
Yeah. Yeah, that seems, but considering it looks like it's been fully restored, chances are it's a pretty fair
You know,
deal. Yeah. But I think this is RCA. Yeah.
Mhm.
This one you could tell, okay, this probably would be a good candidate for paint job.
They're actually nice little radios. That strip on top is solid brass. That polishes up real nice.
Oh yeah, just get I don't know. People have various products they like to use. I typically use Simichrome. Smells
That's good. Or Brasso.
Brasso I've used. I found Simichrome at least for me seemed a little more effective. But boy, the only thing I'm sure even it applies to Brasso, it's rather pungent stuff. You want to do it in ventilated area.
Exactly.
As I recall, this style is lit. As I recall, is that right?
It does, yeah. One time I had a pair of them. I did one in red and one in black, and they both were in terrible shape. The cabinets, so I had to repaint them. But they're kind of unique because the chassis sits in with the bottom side towards the front, and the tubes are pointed straight out the back.
Oh, really? Huh. So the speaker is sort of facing here, and everything is facing out the back of the chassis. Interesting. So it's flipped like 90 degrees. Huh.
Yes, I think there's a knob on the side for your off-on volume. They just have the tuning in front there.
Ah, okay. This is, I think, $15.
Good deal.
That's not too bad of a deal. I think you can see there's I think it's a lot of dust on this thing. Anything else?
Yeah, with enough elbow grease, it might even polish up.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure. It's a Nash hologram. Now, it was a national. I want to say national. No, is that right? Yeah, it is. Here's a nice national transceiver.
You know, what's cool about those things is the band spread. You go back to the national. You can set that to either band spread the hand bands or band spread the shortwave listening bands. On the dial selector right above the name national, you can select which one you want.
That's a neat little feature. Gary, remind me before, because I showed him at the last meeting, but since you're here, I want to show you this Collins that was at the show, which is relatively uncommon. I was thinking about you. And so I'll make sure before we end the pictures, go back to that one for your viewing pleasure. Because I'm sure you'll be able to shed a little more light about it
Sure.
than any of us. Night RC test, pretty nice shape for a tester. $10, I think.
Missing the eye tube though.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Okay, that's why it's so low price. Yeah, good point.
And a knob.
Oh, yeah. I see all the, you're right. Yeah, yeah, right there. All the foibles are being identified. See, here's one of the vendors showing various hi-fi equipment. This gentleman here, by the way, just more for the local guys. I chatted with him a little bit. He's one of the newer guys at his name is Scott Bayo. He restores turntables, and he had a couple of nice turntables he was restoring. He was in the corner, in fact, inside the building, and I had a nice chat with him. Grabbed a couple of his cards because you every so often get people looking for turntables to be repaired, and that's a specialty. And in fact, what I'll make sure I do is maybe at some point I'll put it on. Maybe I'll find a way to stick it in on our hoops.io. We must have a database of other people who do repairs. I'll have to go see if I can assemble something. But seems quite knowledgeable, seemed quite reasonable. I thought the prices for his turntables, and they were pretty high-end stuff, were pretty reasonable. That, by judging for its price, this was labors of love and not necessarily, in it to make the money for his time. So if you're looking for a turntable, he's a good repair guy, someone you might want to talk to. And, like I said, I'll try and make a point of posting somewhere just to raise awareness in case someone's looking for that service. And here's your chance. The gentleman that sells a lot of computer gears, gaming, and so forth. So it really just confirms we are covering all the spectrum of vintage electronics, including the computer side of things. Here we go. Now here is a Grundig. I forget the model, but this puts it right around about 64, 65. The model just isn't jumping at me, but that sold pretty quickly because I looked at it and gave it half a thought, but it was gone before the half a thought said, why don't you have another look? So, so someone got it, the overall the cabinet is in pretty reasonable shape, not, has some nicks and spots, but, there'll be certainly more than reasonable sounding radios, and the price is right. You probably got a deal there, but I kind of like the two-tone. Here's a realistic for you guys. Used to walk in the Radio Shack. You barely saw one of these sitting on the shelves. Yeah, multi-band, lower end multi-band radio, but still. And if it works, $30 is more than reasonable. Seems to be all there. Looks like the antenna endpoints are all there. I think, it looks pretty complete to me. So looks like a pretty reasonable deal. Oh, I really like this. You might appreciate this, Greg. There was a gentleman who had, he had all this vintage electronics and this old stoplight sitting there lit up. He had a battery connection. I just said, oh, I love that. It looks like right off of a school bus or a truck or something, because it's big. So it's not what a car would be. So this had to be a truck or school bus. And the picture doesn't do it justice. I think it look better, in person. But I said, you know what? Yeah, stretching the term vintage electronics, but who doesn't like an old, an old piece of automotive equipment, especially a light like that, or a neon sign. But I thought that was really cool. But I think I never bothered asking what he was selling it for. Probably best I didn't. I don't really need that, although I wouldn't mind having that lit up in my office. But I liked it. Well, it was picture worthy. Yes. I forget who this gentleman is, but he's always here with lots of great test equipment. And so there's your chance there. So I covered that spectrum as well at the show. Oh yes, RCA. We do see these pretty from time to time. You know, very nice. The Strato World, their equivalent to the TOs, looks to be in pretty reasonable condition, I'd say overall. But you know, there was one at the last show, the national show was really pristine, but this is a pretty fine shape. There we go. This is one of Scott's turntables. This is a dual, which is a pretty high-end turntable. He was asking, this is fully restored, high-end German turntable for $250, which I thought was pretty reasonable considering this thing was probably completely done from top to bottom. And if you're looking for, you know, a great turntable and not worry about it, this seemed like a pretty reasonable price to me. It's very nice shape. That's why I thought it was worth noting for anyone of you who happen to have a turntable needing restoration. Maybe someone is a good resource. We also had another one I think I took. Yes, Cisanio. This is somewhat cheaper, $175. Not quite, I would say, as high end as good as the dual, but certainly a good one, nevertheless. So also you see the whole, you know, case looks in great condition. It looks just great, including, you know, instructions and so forth. So I thought, again, more than reasonable, and all things considered. And vinyl is getting more and more popular, so here's your chance to get something good to go connect to your hi-fi. Oh, it was fun. I enjoy seeing, you know, old car radios too, you know. So I took a few shots of various ones. I forget what this is. This might have been a Chevrolet. I think the box I took it in had a number of Chevrolet radios because they had the emblem, but I can't remember on this one because I don't see an obvious emblem. But it could be a GM product of some type. Here's a GE. This sort of was a little bit oddly designed, but still attractive enough with the wood cabinet and the grill cloth. Then they have this plastic piece that's sort of you know part of the chassis. But you know, $50, $49 looks restored, looks pretty reasonable enough shape. I'd say it's probably good. Plus it's AM FM, so gives you a little more flexibility. I think they make this also in a dark face, if I remember. You can get this in dark.
Yeah, they made it in a dark plastic and like an ivory plastic one too. They had 3 models.
Right. Thank you, Gary. I thought so because I remember seeing the dark one, and I think I like the ivory one a little bit more. I think it's more consistent.
What's really cool about this is it's vintage 1948-ish, and it's AC/DC AM/FM radio, but it uses a reflex circuit on FM. The first FM IF is reflexed through the FM RF tube stage.
What's interesting, Gary, is I didn't realize that it's that old a vintage. Like I would have thought 50s, and you said 1948, which is really interesting.
I think it's about 48.
It looks more modern than that. That's what belies its design is the age. How interesting. Yeah, that's an interesting piece of information. I did not know that. I imagine they sound fairly good. Have you ever do you have one or have heard one, Gary?
I had one, and I recapped it, and then I had to replace the resistor. The second IF stage, the cathode resistor was open. I replaced it, and it worked okay. I don't know if it was the reception at the time I was playing it, or I wasn't that overall impressed, but you know how sometimes, you know, you turn a radio on and reception is just dull as all get out, and other times you turn it on and everything is booming in.
Yeah.
You turn it on at the right hour.
That's right. That's funny.
But mine was a wood one, just like that. I liked it.
Yeah, I like the ivory front piece. I think I like that more.
I think if the designer had continued the ivory like on the other side, or maybe had an accent on top, it would have made, and probably more costly, but you know, it's like they designed, they took a box and basically tried to add a deco accent to it. And I don't know, maybe the designer, had they been a little more artistic, maybe would have really, really gone northward. Of course, that could be bad too.
Yeah, that's a good point. Hey, Howard, by the way, good to have you.
Nice seeing everybody. I got out of work early today, so.
Oh yeah, because they say I don't see the usual office style backdrop.
Oh.
I see real stuff behind you.
Yeah, I'm home.
Oh, that's good. It's good. Hey, Larry, good to see you too. I see you joined a little bit late. So we have here. This is an RCA. This is just a what I guess. Oh, it is a radio. It's just there's a dial. The dial face right down there. That's actually pretty cool. Actually, it almost looks like it's just a standalone speaker, but they have the dial face is just nicely done right at the bottom of the face of the radio.
I've got one just like that.
How they sound? They give you the image that it's going to have great sound.
It's a fantastic sounding radio. It's got a 3-position, actually a 6-position off-on switch. The first 3 are for bass, mid-range, and treble, and then you go the next 3, and it's for your phonograph. There's an RCA jack in the back where you can plug in a phonograph. It's got the same 3 tone positions for that as well.
How interesting! I did not know that.
1950 RCA. They call it a bullhorn because it's
Oh,
a huge speaker. Must have at least a 7-inch speaker inside there.
yeah, because it looks the part. So I was wondering whether it's hopefully, you know, not just for show, that actually delivers. So that's good to know. I've never heard one, but that's good to know.
It's actually got 2 dial bulbs at the bottom strip lights up. It's really a neat looking radio.
Ah, I was wondering about that because you're saying this lights up on both sides.
The whole strip lights up. Yeah, there's a bulb on each end.
Nice. Okay.
All your controls are hidden on the sides. You got 2 on one side and then the tuning on the other.
Well, it's too bad. I know it has the complexity. Too bad it didn't have the FM band with it as well. Of course, you'd have to have the I think that this again one, but that would have been meow. Cool. Good to know.
It's amazing that whole front grille is plastic, but that survives after 70-some years.
Yeah. This one's a pretty nice shape. You know, it looks to me like it's original. I mean, I can't swear to it, but it doesn't look.
What is it? Almost stepped on a cat.
The price is not unreasonable. But,
No.
we know wrong.
Oh, there's a TV.
Yeah. Was it Granco? Is that correct? I don't reckon a Granco, I guess. It's a neat TV station. Yeah, I thought it was kind of neat. You know, you don't see these oddball things that show up on people's tables. Of course, well worth, you know, taking a shot there. Now, this would effectively plug into the back of your TV, or is this a radio accessory?
I'm wondering if that isn't even for an antenna. I know my grandparents at one time, it was back in the 70s, they had a antenna for the TV on the roof that was a rotating.
Oh, sure.
I think that's a converter, John. I think you tune your TV to channel 3 or 4, and then this gives you UHF.
Oh, there you
go. A lot of for the TVs that only had VHF at the time.
I was wondering about the way you could just put back, connect to it. I don't know. Yeah, it's neat. Some people that collect that stuff. Was one of our former members, well, actually still a member, but in the Carolinas, Mark. He collects all.
Nelson.
Nelson, thank you.
Nelson.
That's it. Thank you. I just try to name block up there. He collects all.
Every once in a while, you'll see one of those things, and it looks just like a radio. And until you look close, you swear it was a radio.
Yeah. I'm sure that was not by coincidence.
I had and used a similar device, not nearly as pretty as this one, but an old one on a 7-inch tabletop Teletone I had. Yeah, they work sort of.
Sort of. That's good stuff.
Someone collects that stuff, like UHF converters and TV boosters. And he gave a,
Yeah, Mark Nelson. Yeah, we just
Yeah.
mentioned him.
did he give a presentation on a NEVIC meeting? Or was it an AWA meeting?
I don't know.
Did he
I don't know.
He has a whole website devoted to it, though. He literally has a website devoted to UHF tuners and boosters and stuff, and
Yeah.
it's pretty cool.
He gave
I
a
remember correctly, he's not local to us. I want to say he's in North Carolina, but
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
I think that's right. I think he's in the Carolinas, but he pipes in every so often.
Take a look at tv-boxes.com. I believe the guy is AJ2X call sign, and he has a shed outside, and his entire collection is all of those UHF, VHF converters. But it's tv-boxes.com.
After he gave his presentation, all of a sudden, at radio swap meets and ham swap meets and Brimfield, I started noticing these all over the place. And before that time, I never saw a single one.
Yeah, looked right through them. That's funny. Hey, thanks for that info, Russ, by the way. Hey, good to see you.
I ought to give a presentation on VGA monitors.
Was that right?
It's a joke. I said I should give a presentation on old CRT VGA monitors then.
There you go. There you go. You're right.
That all of us can unload all the ones we've been saving all these years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Emerson?
Oh, yeah. So moving along, we had an Emerson S and AM/FM. Not sure which model this is, but it looks to be all there. Certainly in the realm of, if you could get a replacement. I don't know if they make replacement decals here, but if one could, polishing up the cabinet, you probably would get yourself a fairly nice looking radio. I'm sure there's a polish up a lot better.
I bet that's about the same vintage as the one that I have here that I just showed, that 1950, because the font on the numbers is the same.
Oh, sure. That's a good point. What is
Early
that?
50s.
Is that a light?
Looks like a little jewel. Yeah, it's probably what tells you it's on.
I like
Yeah.
it. It's cool. It's funny. It almost
And
has
if
this.
you had a steady hand, you could probably touch that up with a toothpick where it says Emerson.
Yeah, you could. You know what they make? They make. It's funny you mention that, Greg. They make for the model hobby. Is they make these
They have little
toothpicks,
brushes.
but they look exactly a little brush. So with a very steady hand, that takes a lot of really steady hand. You could probably do a half decent job.
It actually wouldn't be that difficult. You'd lay it on its back. The reason is that's actually recessed. You would fill in the Emerson, and if
Is that?
if your paint flows enough, so you got to make the paint, whatever paint you use, flowable, and it will flow into the grooves.
Yep.
Right.
So,
Just use, you get like a Tamiya water-based the acrylic paint, and just maybe just add a little bit of water just to get it to flow a little bit better. And I bet you that, like you said, Howard, that would work perfectly. Just have to get kind of a yellowish, because that's kind of like on the yellowish side of the white ivory, maybe color I want to use, say here. That's a great. I didn't realize that's inset. Yeah, that makes it life so much easier.
Sure.
I did a panel from an R390 receiver, and it was engraved. Some of them were silk screened, but this one was engraved, and I repainted it and filled in the engravings later. And I just used what I had on the shelf. I had some antique white latex wall paint, and just went in there with a toothpick and put it in. And I wasn't real neat, but carefully with a damp cloth, you could wipe off the excess, and it came out pretty good.
Sure.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, no, those are all great solutions. That would be a really straightforward fix for this. and cheap
You just
too.
don't want to have a lot of caffeine before you do that.
Yeah. You know, the thing is also is as we all get older, you know, we rely on our steady hands, you know, it's just and eyesight too. And those are the things that, you know, you're like getting corrective lenses. And, you know, I used to be able to do things so closely, you know, when I was doing like I used to build models when I was a teenager, and you know, it was so easy. I could take that toothpick. I used to whittle down the toothpick even finer to do like, you know, the script on like, you know, on a tail fin or something. If I did a 50s car, if you just did it right, you could do it. Just keep dibbing, you know, dabbing into the silver paint. You could get it done. But, you know, I don't know. I haven't tried that in a while, whether I still have the same. The eyesight is a little bit strong, you know, the hardest part. I think the hand's still steady.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Toothpick.
I think it's a tester. Very nice. To be complete. Oh, that's your table, Len. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it is. Yep.
Because the reason I recognize that G408.
Yep. The Emerson was mine too.
Oh, was it? Oh, yeah. I thought that was a. Did that sell?
No.
Okay. That's a nice radio. Oh, this I don't know who I don't know what.
Yeah, that was mine too.
I said that's got it. You got it. Who's gonna see this on a day-to-day basis? You know.
Yeah, it's a battery cell tester.
I like
No,
it.
car battery.
Yeah. Power flow core in Chicago. But I said, you know, you just don't see these things. That's cool. Well worthy of a shot. Maybe this is yours as well. Nice RCA Victor. AM FM as well. I almost thought about buying one of those a while back, and then I ended up with the G408. In fact, that's what caught my eye. I really like those radios. I ended up with one of those instead. But that's
unique.
Sorry, Greg.
It's almost like a carpet material they had on the front of them.
Yeah, that's a good
Maybe
analogy. Looks like
more
Berber carpeting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice radios. Looks to be in nice shape.
Yeah.
It's another AM/FM Zenith. This must be probably what, early 60s, mid 60s. Also in reasonable shape. Looks all to be all there. Let's see here. What do we have here? Let's say, does that say Etna?
Etna, yeah, it could be. AETNA.
Yeah. I did not know that Etna, there was such thing as an Etna radio, and it's missing a knob, but putting that aside, that's the first one I've ever seen.
They couldn't make it in the radio market, so they switched to insurance.
There you go.
Well, they probably saw a market for people electrocuting themselves and so forth. So they said, yeah, let's go to our insurance, you know, try to fix these things. I like
That's
the
kind of unique dial, like a strip that moves up and down.
I like that. I was looking at that. It's like a speedometer style.
Yeah, or thermometer even.
Yeah, exactly. I really like the it's funny that technique was even showed up on some cars. Reminded my dad had a Mercedes, a mid 60s, 1965 Mercedes, and the cluster, the speedometer went up straight up, like the speedometer was a pointer, so it was so it looked just like that, but cut a notch in to have a pointer and went straight up. It started out actually as yellow when you're going slow, then went to red slashes on the yellow as you're going faster, maybe or up to like maybe 35, and then finally went full red as you cleared like 40 miles an hour, and straight up to, you know, whatever. I think it was top, 100 or 120 was what it was limited at. But neat. And it's fun looking at these pictures because you miss these things when you just, as I'm going through the photos and just seeing little details like, this style, thermometer style scale. I really like it. It's kind of cool. And the
At first, I thought it might have been an airline because airline did that too back in the 30s. They had that same kind
Yeah,
of
they had a ribbon.
a ribbon, right?
And we know it's lens because it's named, or that's the name of the radio.
I didn't see that one there. Len, do you still have that?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
That's a really interesting. I've never seen that. Now, how'd you come across that one, Len?
I found there was a local Craigslist listing for about 20 radios, and I went and bought them all. That was one of them.
Wow, but that's cool. Never seen it. Good stuff. Ah, yes, here's a.
Flip front Zenith.
That's nice.
Yeah, that's mine too.
I thought so. I took a lot of photos at your table. I usually do. There's usually lots of interesting things that are picture worthy, and we can prove that you're there lurking about.
Oh yeah, you can see that.
That's actually the lens head edition.
Well, actually, on those, when you flip the top up, that turns it on and off.
Right. Yeah, that's what I've heard. I've never got a chance to play with one of those. This is like pretty.
And most of them will have cracks right in the front dial because there's not a lot of clearance between the front of the radio and the knobs in front when it folds shut. Actually, you can see it right under the H in Zenith. That's usually where they go. Under the Z and under the H, there'll be a little crack.
Oh, really?
Somebody slammed it too hard.
So it looks to be in pretty good shape. I think it's
Yeah,
not
it
suffered
is.
that. Worth the price of admission alone. It's a good shape, actually. All. I forget who these gentlemen are. They are here pretty regularly. Oh yes, they had all these interesting tubes. So that was certainly worth a shot with the various test equipment. Yep, there was this guy close with a big monster tube here.
Wow.
Going to impress your friends.
Looks like an external anode tube. That big metal thing at the bottom is actually the anode and the anode connection.
Yep. Yeah, I thought that was very interesting. And I do see there's some, obviously the name is probably in the back. I should have grabbed the shot from that side, but I didn't think of it at the time who the maker was. Another couple of ones, yeah, somewhat smaller. Federal Tel and Radio Corp on this guy. The same with the other guy, I'm sure. Interesting stuff nonetheless. Of course, Joe Coco's table, the one gentleman who always has all the caps and resistors, everything we need to restore radios. Always faithfully having a table for people to go buy their radio repair kits. Oh, here's a nice full coat.
Yeah.
I which model this is. I'm sure, Greg, you know. Very nice.
That could be model 60 or an 89, one of the two.
Looks to be in really nice shape. Like real cloth looks correct to me. Do you concur? I can't swear
It's
to
close. I think it's been replaced. It looks.
Okay. So you may be
thicker
right.
mat-
This one's looked pretty convincing to me, but very nice.
What, a 34 or 35?
That one there, the last one?
The Philco, yeah, the cathedral is, I think,
Yeah.
a 35.
Oh, okay. Here we have a Super Junior. Now, what radios? Let's see, the tag might actually give us a clue. At Jackson Bell, model
Okay.
96. That's not a radio you see very often.
No.
Not very often at all. I'm not even sure where Jackson Bell was made. It sounds like something that would be wet on the western US, but I can't swear to it. But yeah, interesting radio. Oh, another Bendix. Kind of similar to one we saw earlier.
Yeah.
I don't think it's the same one. There's always a chance. I every so often have been known to take more than one picture of the same radio because you're taking so many, and you say, I can't remember if I saw that. I'll just take a photo. I mean, it's digital, so if you take an extra one, you just delete it. This one, actually, I think, Greg, this is the same one. Sorry?
That was mine, John. Yeah,
Oh, is that right?
that's it.
You know what? I think I'm almost sure this is a duplicate photo. I think this is my classic case of every so often, a couple of duplicates fall in. Panasonic. I think it's a tube. I think it's a tube one. As I remember, these were not solid state. FM. Probably mid 60s, probably. Maybe that range. $10. Cheap. And I bet you they sound pretty decent. Seems like a pretty decent deal to me. Hammerlund. Nice. Another one right below it. So definitely.
That's a transmitter. The top one is a transmitter and the bottom one's a receiver.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Larry. It's all in nice, pretty reasonably nice condition. Oh, some various hi-fi receivers. This one, Seton. I don't know anything much about this Seton. I don't think I've ever heard of them, honestly. Obviously, on Onkyo, I've heard plenty of times. Turntable on top of. What was why I took this? Is this a Lafayette? I'm trying, maybe. I wonder if that's a Lafayette, because I remember I might have taken it for various reasons.
It has a Pioneer look to me. I'm not sure, but it looks a lot like a Pioneer that I had.
It is a Lafayette, but it's got the same layout as the Pioneer SMQ 300 or whatever it is. I mean, looks like you say the same knob layout. It looks so similar.
Interesting. So when it's a borderline rebadge almost. Yeah,
I had a Pioneer, I think SX 2000 or SR 2000, and it had the same type of rocker switches and very similar knobs. But maybe Pioneer made it for Lafayette. Who knows?
that may have been true. I have a soft spot for Lafayette because of my childhood experiences. My dad went to Lafayette all the time. I think I've talked about this in the past. And so
my freshman year of high school, I lived in Olean, New York.
Oh, sure.
And right down at the bottom of our street was a Lafayette store.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but there was one in Long Island where we lived, and then when we moved upstate, my dad would typically go to the one in Albany, New York, just because it was closer. Plus, he didn't feel like driving down to New York City. From there it was closer to go to Albany somewhat. So we'd go, and we'd go make a day of it as a family, shopping, whatever, in the malls. And my dad would want to go over, make it a point late afternoon, go over to Lafayette. And usually I tagged along. So the only problem is he got annoyed because I kept playing with all the radios, pushing all the buttons and trying different things. And you know, there's like in the day when you're supposed to not touch anything, but the salesman was good about it.
I still have two items at least that I bought at that store. One, the two that come to mind, one is a brand new Win L62 I got because I just gotten a Transoceanic. A friend of mine, high school friend, gave it to me, and I wanted a spare Win L6. And I still have that tube. I've never had to use it, but I may have to someday. And the other thing I bought there that I also still have is a chassis punch.
Oh, interesting.
John, I have that Lafayette stereo, and see the three knobs in the center, the tip knob, I lost one. So I had to match all three. So it looks about the same, but if you look close, they're different. But I couldn't find another one of the knobs, the outer knobs. So yeah, I should have it in my living room, but maybe one day I've never really looked for the knobs. That's the problem. Probably could find them.
Right. Is it still a regular driver for you? You said it's a regular player for you? No,
no, it's in a glass cabinet,
okay.
and on the top there's a record player.
Oh, okay.
It's there's a power amplifier below, an additional one, as well as this one, which is, I think this is 24 watts per channel, if I remember.
Okay.
But as I say, the three outer knobs are not original.
Interesting.
And by the way, the Lafayette store in Syosset,
Yep.
you were talking about,
Yeah.
I used to go to every Saturday morning. We used to sit in the speaker room, whole bunch of guys.
That's funny.
So
Well,
was,
who knows?
let's see, it would have been in, I lived on Long Island in Huntington for about 18 years total, but 19, I'm just trying to think. Yeah, it was either 72 or 73. And I was there when they closed up, and we all got online and we all got surplus or broken stuff from off the shelf. And, you know, I got a free box of S meters when they closed that Syosset store. That was funny.
That was probably one of the last stores. Oh, actually, wait, do you know what year that closed? Please, Scott.
I think it was around, we had just come back to the island, so it was maybe 1980, 81. I'm not sure. I know it wasn't before I left. So I went to West Jersey and then came back. Always in Huntington, though.
Oh, okay. I know that one of our members, Lou, worked at the one in Albany, and he worked there for quite a while. And in fact, there's a small chance Lou was there when I was a little kid with my dad. Yeah, because he worked there quite some time. But year I thought he was there when it was getting close to closing. So when he's on, I'll have to ask him what year that was. Whether they all closed their stores at the same time, or it would seem like the store would have lasted longer.
No, they didn't. They didn't close them all at the same time. In fact, the Lafayette's in Syosset, because that was the main office for Lafayette, was the last one of the last ones to close.
Okay.
So they started. I'm just trying to remember back. I remember something like it took 2 to 3 years to close all of them.
Okay.
Because they were very fair to their employees. They were very good to them. And but it was a business decision. And the one in Syosset was, I'm trying to think. I came back from Jersey, went out there 74, came back 79, Not sure. It probably was 80 or 81.
Let's
Probably
punch
look it up.
that
Could
right.
probably look it up, you know, look it up.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
So whoever brought that up, it's a nice tuner, that one.
Yeah, it Lafayette's invariably, I'll always take a photo if I see one because it's, you know, the memories, the sentiment. It's a nice RCA in really nice condition, nice portable. That's right. There was a gentleman's table with the big horn. So he's got the Edison phonograph.
When did Lafayette join the American Revolution?
When I guess in 1980 or 81. Let's see here. So what do we have here? Oh, now AK. That's in pretty nice shape. Very interesting grill cloth. Very nice. Very nice radio. The Lloyds. So remember those thing Lloyds quite a bit. They're their solution to a multi-band radio. Never had any experience with Lloyds, but it certainly dotted a lot of the discount stores. You know, growing up as a kid, whether it was like, you know, Kmart or Calvo or whatever. Barely found that there. Looks to be in pretty reasonable condition, all things considered. Oh, Zenith. The Wave magnet. These may have a little bit of love, but it's all there. Sonic, I think, right?
Excuse me, John, I found the information.
Oh, sure.
Yes, Lafayette Radio Electronics Corp. was an American radio electronics manufacturer and retailer from approximately 1931 to 1981. Headquartered in Syosset, New York,
Yeah.
a Long Island suburb of New York City. Oh, yeah?
Yes, indeed.
Okay. So defunct in 1981.
There you go. Good memory. You
Yeah.
nailed it.
That's unusual, actually. It's first time this week.
That's all right.
Sorry to interrupt the.
Oh,
flow
that's
there.
quite all right. All right. Here's a nice console.
Silco console.
Yeah. That
And
looks
it's
different. to
Stroke
me.
and 10 grill.
Yeah, it's a good looking rate. That's a good looking unit, huh?
I think the first knob is from a silver tone.
Sorry?
I think the first knob is from a silver tone.
Yeah, I was gonna say it doesn't look right. So because
Yeah.
I was thinking I'm looking at this thing saying there's something. But overall, very nice console.
Yeah. I think it might have the early FM band too.
You may be right here. Let's see if I can
You are?
pull in here.
Maybe not. No.
Oh,
I guess
Just
not.
police and broadcast and short
Yeah.
wave. Some of those did though.
Oh, this is the base. Police fine bands tuning. So the base knob is not original.
Yeah, the other three are correct. It's just the first one.
Yeah. Yeah, it does look out of place. But despite that small faux pas, it's a very nice console. It looks heavy.
I'll bet it is.
Yeah, looking at saying it's just like this wide arches. They're just telling me it's a 2 or 3 man job or 4.
the cabinet looks very solidly built unless that's all facade.
Oh, I dad, that looks heavy. It just screams. It screams chiropractor. Yeah, but you know, once they're there, that's not going anywhere.
Don't have to worry about it tipping over.
No, no. Or only if it's on you.
Yeah.
This is interesting.
RCA,
GE.
oh, GE. huh?
Missing a knob, another questionable knob. I suspect these are probably closer.
They're all different.
Yeah, I know. I see them looking. You're right. I see this hex thing going on. I don't see that there. Yeah, this is the you can find the
Lane's
knob.
57.
Yeah. Neat radio in its own way. I mean, it looks mostly there except for the knobs. One of those might
Yeah,
be.
that's an interesting cabinet. I wonder if because the chassis is sitting down so well, if there isn't a phonograph on the top.
You know, that's an interesting question. I don't know. I didn't think of trying to lift this, but because you know what, I can't tell whether this thing is hinged or not. So I see what you're. I follow your train of thought there, Greg, and maybe there's some truth behind that. I don't think I ever checked.
Maybe not. I've never seen one like that.
Yeah, it's interesting. Looks to be like early 30s. Len, isn't this what you bought?
Tunable loop.
The radio?
Yeah, I bought that off Merrill.
Yeah, I thought so. I took a shot. I think I saw you buying it. So I wanted to make sure we got a shot of it because it was quite nice. Really wonderful condition. And another, this is a Rhode Island Pawtucket. Yes, I thought it was
Pawtucket, yeah.
very nice.
I have the other bigger loop that they made, but I've never seen the small one before.
Yeah, it's in quite nice condition. I took a closer photo of it. Radio gear, standard radio and electric. Very nice. That's where we got here.
That is an RCA. And the reason I know that's actually the same model that I was talking about.
Oh,
eBay that was smashed.
oh, is that right? That got smashed.
Yeah.
This is this metal? Is this metal or it looks metal?
Well, the bar is metal in the middle, but the cabinet's bakelite
Oh,
plastic.
yeah. Got it. No, it's too bad.
One thin layer of bubble wrap wasn't quite enough to protect that.
Jeez. It's actually a nifty little radio with the L-shaped dial face.
Yeah, the fact that it has short wave too is kind of interesting.
Yeah. It's interesting. I guess they used like a similar like L-shaped needle.
Pointer.
Yeah, pointer. Yeah. I assume is this backlit as well? Is this dial lit?
I would imagine so. Yeah.
Probably will look pretty nice lit up.
Surprisingly, you know that the glass survived, but the plastic.
That's the
must have
irony,
been
right?
cut out
You
of
would
the
expect
radio.
vice versa.
Right.
Philco, a more modern one, probably presumably late 60s, 70s.
Yeah.
It's got the Ford symbol, so I like it. That's when they did the interesting. They did it on one dial. It had both bands. It's it's the parallel bands there. Neat. Admiral. FM. It's like probably from the I don't know, late 60s, late 70s, thereabouts. Right, late 60s.
Early 60s.
Yeah. Oh, this is Howard's radio.
Beautiful.
Howard, you're still on, right?
Yes.
I'll let you jump in and tell us about this. I know it's from Australia, right?
Yes, made in America by, it's a Wells Gardner chassis, sold in Australia. I'm not sure where if the cabinet was made in Australia or if that's also made in the United States. But the transformer could be either wired for 120 or 240. So it was a very easy 5-minute change it to 120. But the set has some nice features, including the beam of light dial, which basically behind the glass, you have a mechanism that has a lamp in an enclosure with a slit. So you see a line of light where the tuning is, as opposed to seeing a needle like you would typically see. And it's got that very interesting tuning where the tuning slows down, some sort of a clutch mechanism. Tuning slows down when you stop, and when you turn the tuning knob quite a bit, it speeds up. It's a little gearbox looking thing. I don't dare take it apart because it works beautifully. But it's also just a nice sounding set, a basic set, but a nice sounding one.
Yeah, that's it. I got to let Howard let me turn the tuner. It really is interesting. You do move the dial very quickly, and if you slow down, it starts go. You get much more fine tuning. It's actually very clever design. Beautiful radio. In fact, I have a better picture of the dial face coming up soon. You get to appreciate. Howard was kind enough to power it up. The only thing I wish, because there's so much fluorescent lights in there, that I wish there was less light to get a nicer dial face lit up with the beam of light pointer. Oh, somehow or another. Then we'll go back to Howard. I guess I sometimes end up having to come back to take photos later, but I know I've got it. There's a Trago radio from Kansas City, Missouri. Not something you see very often. Is that Merrill's? Is that Merrill? Yes.
He was outside.
Yeah, he's out.
I would say it's likely because I see that a pile of books there, and he always brings a lot of good books to the right. So I would say it's very likely.
Yeah, I think that's him there sitting. I think.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, there's the front. I thought it was, and he has apparently quite a collection of early radios, one of the best, according from what I've read from people like Bruce and so forth who have seen it. Very excellent collection of early radios. There's the innards. Nice cabinetry. There's another one. I think it's another one that the Globe 770. I think it's another one from Merrill. I guess it must be missing. Is that missing a knob? Yeah, it must be. Neat. It's-
Yep, needs one.
Yeah. Needs one, oh, I couldn't resist. I'm walking past. I forgot whose table this was, and it's just this Pontiac 1940 Pontiac brochure. What caught my eye is that because I have a friend who has the same Pontiac in the exact same color. In fact, I think we're supposed to have a car show either this weekend or the following weekend, and I probably will see him. So I spotted it. I said, he's got that beautiful 41 Pontiac. Beautiful car. So it caught my eye. Sorry, guys. We should do a little quick deviation to cars, but I enjoy it if I see something neat. This gentleman's always here selling a variety of things. I don't even know his name, to be honest. Maybe somebody else does, but he's there every meet. There's a GE.
Yeah.
Pretty nice. For a model, but nice, interesting dial face.
Yeah, but they're not reproducing that grill cloth. That's, never
Think
saw
so?
that pattern before. Yeah,
Oh, okay, yeah, probably is. Yeah. Suspect you're right.
that was
Oh,
Kent.
this was our contest that Howard was running, and with this gentleman who I need to reach out to, because maybe we'll have him on for a Zoom meeting. He restored these AKs all himself, and they were just sterling jobs. And the funny thing is, I think he won, like, I think he did the sweep because every one of those radios were placed. Yeah, some really nice early outward Kents, obviously a Model 40 here. Great restoration job. We had two contests. One was outward Kents, another one for cassette tape, as I recall. There's the same radio front. And then here's another one. You did the Model 52. Also another restoration. It does really nice work.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think the Model 52 is actually the stove, the console, but the power supply worked in both the 40 and the 52.
Oh, interesting. Oh, thanks for that, Greg. Did not know that.
Only reason I know is because I put a 52 power supply in my Model 40.
Ah, okay.
And that is a Model 40.
Yeah, you can see it did a very nice job here.
Beautiful.
Oh, we had I thought this was really interesting. You had this he said spotted it, and somebody he spotted it and he had to have it. That they were involved with motor car radios in the 30s for a brief period of time, and he found the sign, so it was really quite interesting. So not something you would see very often.
I think that would have Kent made carburetors too.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Wow. Now that I did not know. That's very interesting. Here's some guy who's qualified, appointed as a Atwater Kent Motor Car Radio Installation and Service Station, 1935. That's pretty cool. May 15, 1935.
Wow.
Pretty
I
cool.
think
It's an interesting piece of history.
the year before Atwater went out of business, 1936.
Yeah. See, there's a little bit of history there. I'll sort of skip that. Some pictures are on the groups.io. And here's another radio feed. This is not an AK. This is a national.
National SW5, I think.
Yeah, that seems right. It was. Thanks, Larry. Let's see if and it's not quite clean enough for me to research laboratories. It's a little bit hard to see, but anyway, another restoration job. The same gentleman, and I think he also placed with that one. Just beautiful work.
Let's look at the tag on the power supply.
Yeah, National Velvet Type.
National Velvet.
National company. I knew the power supply was national. The receiver looks very much like an SW5. The only thing that might be different is the escutcheon for the tuning dial. I'm not sure, but it doesn't quite look right to me for an SW5, but I'm sure it must be very similar to an SW5 if it isn't one.
Okay, interesting. Oh, here's from the top. See if there's anything. Oh yeah, it definitely says national. Don't know if there's any more details on this. Just national. There you go. Yeah, nicely done. Oh, this was our cassette contest. So actually our winner, Bob Harris, I think who brought this one in. I think this either placed first or something like that, but or second, but yes. Original Sony Walkman,
Wow,
cassette, the whole 9 yards.
that brings back memories.
It does, doesn't it? And then here is this I know what this is. I know it's cassette tape.
I think it's a multi-track cassette recorder, a 4-track cassette recorder, if I'm not mistaken,
Wow,
That sounds right.
or at least a mixing board.
Yeah,
that's what I would have thought, mixing board for a radio station or something.
I know. It's not something you'd normally see in a household, right?
It looks like a cassette drive over on the right, and there's
Right.
four VU meters and 4 channels up above there, up above what looks like the cassette drive. So that's what made me guess.
6-channel mixer recorder from Audio
Yeah,
Technica.
yeah, it is a 4-track, so you got 8 channels, so you can mix them down to go into the 4 tracks, and it's quite an interesting piece.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's not something you see very often. I certainly wanted, like, first for me.
I've got a TIAC if anybody wants one, very similar, same function. I think it's a TIAC I have. It was one of the kids.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, got to get rid of it before we move.
That's right. You have the big sale, Larry, the big vintage electronics garage sale, pre-moving sale.
I don't have time for a sale. It's all free.
There you go. Even better. Bring a van. This was interesting. This is a military cassette recorder player. So I guess this thing lifts up, but it records at very slow speed. So let's see. I think there's some information here. Maybe a video research company, Riviera Beach, Florida, for the U.S. Army around 80. So I guess the tape speed gives you about 120 minutes of record time. So you've seen for recording of voice and radio for ground vehicle or air. So that was you don't see one of these very often. So that was really quite interesting. See a military grade cassette recorder. So we could bring here I took a really close up, so no one could read it, but I kind of read out the highlights. Look like some more photos here. Here's a this is Howard. This is your radio, isn't it?
Yeah, that's an air castle. Actually, I think it's a Western Auto, but I think it may have been sold as an air castle. I'm not sure, but Plascon. It's a nice little radio.
Yeah, that's quite I like that dial. Very attractive. Dial face is nice. It's not one of yours. Sentinel.
Yeah, what's interesting about this Sentinel is the colors. Unfortunately, there's the stress cracks, but when you look at it, it's hard to tell in the picture, but when you look at it, it's like a green, like an onyx, and then a purple that's kind of swirled in there. And I've just never seen that combination in a radio.
Yeah, I thought it was really quite interesting. I love the dial face too. A very interesting radio. And not seen very often. Oh, see, now here's the dial face. We're back because you kindly turned on. Here's the tuning eye. And if you look carefully, here's the lit dial pointer. That's just really cool. And it has the lit tone and volume you're adjusting. So it's actually pretty cool. The picture, like I said, if it were less light inside the building, it would be much more eye-catching. I knew I came back. It was well worth as close a shot as I could get. So
Is that the electronic organ company, Goldbranson?
I believe it's the same company. There is, I believe that Wells Gardner, you see the WG there. I believe that Wells Gardner was actually a spin-off or bought by Goldbranson, or Goldbranson was a parent company. Honestly, I haven't read the history about it in many, many years, but I did read something about it.
Oh, okay.
I'll have to research it.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, that's really unique, certainly a unique piece, Howard.
No, thank you. It's
I could resist. This was passed to me from Paul Dumont. Took the photo and he said, "Hey, I got these. You mind if I price you? Yeah, you got to forward this because we'll get a little laugher." So here's Madonna in her older years. You know,
Or Dolly Parton.
yeah,
Yeah.
COVID hasn't been kind. But yeah, so you guys might get a chuckle. So yeah, the courtesy. I'll give full credit to Paul Dumont for that. He forwarded me the picture. He took it and forwarded. And then here is the. I think these are sort of just the winners. Oh, I took a picture with the top stand. That's what I wanted to get a photo of the same at work and 4052. And yeah, this is just the placement. Yeah, Bob, I was right. We did win first place on that one. Well deserved. Second place was the Mixer. This is first place on the third place. I think was the military, if I remember correctly, but somehow or another didn't get the what you call it, didn't get put on there right away. But yes, this gentleman here cleaned up. That's I think the first I've ever seen where second and third, he won all the places. Walked home with a nice big fat check.
So is that
There he is.
that radio, the SW5 lookalike, was that actually an Atwater Kent? Because it looks like it was a contest item.
Larry, that's something I probably botched, and I kind of own it because I did research on it after the fact and couldn't find anything that was Atwater Kent about it. And I probably should have talked to the owner about that first. But I might get in touch with you about that because I might need to clean up that mess myself. Honestly, I kind of messed up on that one. So anyway, we'll discuss that after.
It's water under the bridge and not really very important in the grand scheme of things. So I wouldn't worry about it, Howard.
True. However, I think Merrill should have gotten the third place for his sign. And that's because he did get votes on that. And anyway, that's, I chalk that up as, me being very rusty running the contests after Ted did it for so many years.
I wouldn't worry. It's like Larry said, it's really hard on the bridge. But we'll have plenty of opportunities. You did a great job, Howard. So you've done a great job stepping in. So
Thank you.
Good contest.
I'll make sure I bring interesting radios with some kind of unique feature each time anyway. So we get
you'll get some really lit dial face dial pointer category. That's gonna be tough. The gentleman who got this, I guess, was the third place. I think that's the third place color. I forget who that is. And Bob at first. Just want to make sure I get the people. Oh, that was Jim Bulzak, who gave the nice training on radio diagnosing. If anyone who got a chance to stay for the training, was nicely done. He did this nice big placard of the basic, subsections of a radio, and just talking about what to look for. It was just nice review, informative, and was nicely done. And actually, I got to circle back with Alan. Is that Roy took the video and he had to splice it together. He has 4 chunks of video, and I think each of them are like a good 100 meg. I think the thing is like 4 gig total. And group, I have to find out which groups.io subscription we have. He seems to be having trouble uploading it to, which means it may actually look at the limit of the file and reject it. So I have to check. I sent an email to Alan. I'll have to resend it just to see if he knows what we've got. Because we have the video recorded, it just has to be uploaded. So that's the story there. But anyway, I just sort of banged through these. So he just did some nice props there for, just for demonstration and discussion purposes. And there was some of the crew there. That's Roy taking the video, and there's Bob there, in fact. So it was appreciated, and then there's a nice large schematic that Jim was going through just to talk about various sections of the radio to discuss.
This reminds me, John, can I do a quick commercial here?
You absolutely should, and are always welcome to.
Okay, so every Friday morning starting at 9:30 a.m., we have the Nevic Net for those Nevic members who are also active hams. And it's on 3805 kilohertz at 9:30, lower sideband. And what reminded me is Jim here, W1DU, checks in. He's been checking in every week now for quite a while. And we're not a huge group. Sometimes we only have 3 or 4, but Jim and I are regulars, and Bill Holly, K1BH, is also somewhat of a regular. And then we have other people like Gary that check in from time to time. So those of you guys who are hams and have 75 meter lower sideband capability, join us Friday mornings, 9:30 a.m. On 3805. And back to you, John, as they say in the evening news.
No, that's great, Larry. I, by all means, it's always good to pass all this information on, especially to you ham guys out there in the group. This was the last photo, but I promised Gary, so I wanted to do is let me just unshare for just a moment and go dig up the photo. I wanted to just allow Gary a chance to see that Collins that was at the show, and I just got to find the photo. So just bear with me a moment here, guys, as I'm just clamoring to find it. And maybe Gary could give us a little bit of thoughts about it. I just need a moment or two to go find. Whoops. No. It was sitting in someone's trunk. Fine. I know it's there. I know I saw it. It was in the trunk. Oh. No. I'm very annoyed here. Is it? Oh, guys, I have to apologize. I thought I had this photo because we're making a point of it. I have trouble finding it. Let's check one more time here. Fireball event. Oh, there we go. Phew. I was starting to think I was going senile. Okay, now let me share. Sorry, guys. It just took me a little bit of a moment to get my act together here and find it right in front of me. Okay, Gary. Now, what do you think of this? This is a Collins.
Oh, it looks like I'm thinking, it does look like a transmitter. I wonder if it was, I can't identify it like as to a model number, but it looks like it could have been an exciter. They sold like a line of exciters of different complexity, with a simplest one was just a VFO, the PTO.
Okay.
And then they had a second one and a third one. The second one had the last one had a most complex output circuit. Could be used as like a 20-watt transmitter, or could be used as an exciter for a power ramp.
Oh, okay.
B plus on, but plate current and coupling, that says transmitter, not receiver. So that it's an exciter or some kind of transmitter, I think.
Interesting. So I figured you know more than probably any of us here on this. That's why I thought it'd be worth view. Here's, I did get somewhat of a shot of the innards, but my understanding, because Tom was with me and he remarked to me, goes, "Oh, this is pretty rare." But yeah, so I just wanted to make sure you had a chance to see that, Gary. It's I don't know what the asking price was, but it was what's there at the show.
It might be, yeah, I've never seen one quite like that before. And I wonder if it's like a modification to, a more standard one.
I'm looking in my tube type transmitters reference here. It lists all the models, or most of the models, by manufacturer. I'm not finding it yet, but it shares similarities with the 310B exciter. It's got the PTO, similar layout, but let's see, early 310B actually, they made, well, let me see if I can show the picture here. Stand by.
Sure. But I can do is I can unshare, Larry, so everyone can see you more easily as I can.
Larry, what transmitter book are you looking at? Was it Ray Moore's book, or was it Eugene Rippon's book?
Rippon's book.
But I got both. Let me look at Moore's book and see if that sheds any light.
We get you guys on the hunt.
Yeah, the only Collins I ever had was a KWM1,
Here's the
1958.
the 310A right below my fingers here. That's the closest thing I found to it.
Yeah.
It does look similar, doesn't it? Certainly we could call this the mystery radio.
John, could I see a picture of the thing again?
Absolutely. Let me go back and reshare. Here you go, Gary.
Yeah, I concur. It looks to me a 310A is the closest and looks with modifications.
That's very good. Well, it's probably as much as anyone would have been able to discern from this. But I don't know if it's sold, so you never know. You might get a chance there. Gary. Add to your Collins collection. Well, at any rate, gentlemen, that seems to be all the pictures I have. And that was pretty much a very successful and nicely organized and run Spring Brookline. And looking up ahead, where Paul and I are discussing some about the upcoming Zoom meetings, so we'll keep you guys apprised of who's next on the docket, what we'll be discussing. But there'll be bound to be something. Mark, we certainly can bring Mark Best back in because he has lots of great pictures from his Museum of Antiquated Technology for us to talk about. But we do have some other things that we're going to work on as well. But you guys stay tuned there. So I guess if no one has any other announcements or any other things they'd like to bring up, I can close up the meeting and allow you gentlemen to head into your Friday and the weekend. And I hope you enjoy the nice warm weather coming our way. And we'll probably see you guys in a couple of weeks, the next Zoom meeting. Great having you guys on. It was a lot of fun. Thanks for all the show and tells. I think that was fun. And well, we'll be talking to you over email, I'm sure. So thanks, everybody. Stop sharing here.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
guys.
Thanks, bye.
Thanks. Have a good night.
Yes.
Larry, I'll try to be on the net tomorrow.
Great.